Hello everyone and welcome back to another Sensei series. I've heard it said that a dollar saved is a dollar earned. I've also heard it said that the hardest thing to do on guitar is make money. So in a way, I'm going to show you the hardest thing to do on guitar. Today we are looking at 9 ways to save money as a guitarist. Links to individual tips down there in the description. Let's dive in. Number 1, learn how to do a basic guitar setup. It's important to have an instrument that isn't fighting against us. Having a well set up, clean guitar makes the entire music making process that much more enjoyable. It can cost up to $100 to have your guitar set up when in reality you have the skills to do it yourself. I'll do a quick rundown of the basics. First, changing strings, that's easy enough and there are plenty of YouTube tutorials showing how you can do it on your guitar's make and model. Intonating a guitar, i.e. making sure the notes higher up the neck are in tune with the lower ones, is easy enough as well. You want to make sure the open string is in tune. Then go up the neck to the 12th fret of the same string and make sure that it is in tune as well. If it's sharp, you need to lengthen the string. The way you do this on every guitar is the same in principle. On my guitar here, there's a little screw on each saddle. By tightening it, it brings the saddle further away from the neck, lengthening the string. If the 12th fret is flat, you do the opposite, shortening the string. Tune your open string, check again, and repeat until both the open string and 12th fret are in tune. Repeat with all the strings. Another thing you might want to think about if you have an unfinished rosewood fretboard is oiling the neck a couple times a year. All you need is a bit of lemon oil, put a little dab on a cloth, and rub it into the neck. You should also check your truss rod. There should be a very slight bow in the neck. If it's too deep, that means you need to tighten that rod, and if it's too straight or the bow is going the other direction, that means you need to loosen it. When looking down the neck, righty is tighty and lefty is loosey. To know what the ideal bow should look like, you can Google some pictures or go to your local music store and check out some of the guitars there. Lastly, adjusting string height. Again, the principle behind how you do this will be the same on all guitars. On my Strat here, there are little screws in the saddles that raise or lower them. I personally don't follow any specific formula or measurement. I just try to make sure that the strings are as low as possible without having any of the frets buzzing out. Anything beyond the stuff I've mentioned, I'll usually seek out a professional, but it really pays off to know these basics. I'll put some links in the description to the tools and products that can get you going on this front. Next up is buy the best quality equipment you can afford, which may sound counterintuitive because at first it will cost you money, but in the long run it will save you. I've found that cheap stuff rarely lasts. For example, I've bought and replaced a $20 microphone stand plenty of times until I eventually bought the high-end one for $100 that has lasted me to this day 10 years later. This has been the case with cables and various other studio equipment. You're better off buying the expensive one once than buying the cheap ones and replacing them a bunch of times. Guitars, pedals, and amps can lead to the same thing too. If you buy a cheap guitar, sell it, buy a mid-level one, sell that, upgrade again, you're gonna lose money on each transaction. If you're serious about music, you're better off buying the high-end one to begin with, which isn't always feasible, but it's worth considering. Also remember that cheap and inexpensive aren't always the same thing. Do some research, read some reviews, and you can find some quality stuff that costs less. Next up is for those who are getting out there gigging. Many people will tell you that you should never drink on a gig, you are a professional and you should act like one. But let's be real, for most of us, having a couple beers on stage comes with the territory. And if you're playing at bars, the price of those beers can add up real quick. I've found that when booking a show, it's worthwhile to ask if you can get some drink tickets or even if there's a discounted price for the band. Sometimes you get it, sometimes you don't. It doesn't hurt to ask politely. And also keep in mind, you do want to keep yourself relatively in check. Nobody plays better when they're totally wasted. Moving on, if you're running your pedals on 9-volt batteries, you're going to spend a lot of money. Those little things are pricey. Instead, invest in a power supply that can power your entire chain, like a Powerall or Voodoo Labs pedal board unit. They're practical, reliable, and environmentally friendly. I'll put up some links in the description. Next up is for those who often find themselves breaking strings. Use Graphtec string savers. These are graphite saddles designed to replace your old metal ones. They're self-lubricating and won't get any of those string-killing burrs. I've mentioned them before, and since putting them on all my guitars some 12 years ago, I haven't broken a single string. Head over to their website and see which ones will fit your instrument. Number 6 is buy strings in bulk. By buying packs that contain multiple sets of strings instead of buying the individual sets, you're going to save yourself some cash. For example, if I go to Amazon and look up my go-to 10-gauge D'Addario electric strings, I see that they sell for $5.50 for the individual set. If I buy them in a 3-pack, I'll save $1.50 in total. Or even better, if I buy a 10-pack, I'll save $10. Strings don't expire and you're going to end up using them anyways, so if you can put up a couple extra dollars, it's worth it. I'll put up some links to the bulk packs of my go-to strings in, you guessed it, the description. Moving on to my next money saving tip, number 7, wait a week to buy things. We've all done it. You walk into a music store, see some piece of gear you think you need, and buy it on a whim. Well, impulse buying can get real costly real quick and can leave you with a bunch of stuff you find you never even use. Instead, wait a week or so and see if you still feel like you can't live without that piece of gear. If so, you'll know it's a worthwhile purchase and aren't getting it just for the rush of shopping. When you do decide to buy something, check to see if you can get it used. Secondhand equipment is usually just as reliable as the new stuff and often far cheaper if you're willing to deal with some cosmetic wear. I've personally saved thousands of dollars buying used equipment and have yet to deal with any serious issues. If you're buying a guitar, make sure that the truss rod isn't seized and check to see if the neck is warped, meaning it's doing a weird wave instead of a bow. It's also worthwhile to check to see how worn in the frets are. Besides that, most guitar repairs aren't that expensive and won't offset the money you'll save. Another pointer is that some musical store chains can check out the inventory in other locations. If the store you're at doesn't have what you're looking for used, sometimes they can bring one in if it's sitting at another location. Not every business will do this, but it's worth looking into. My last tip for today is develop some skills outside of playing your instrument. There's a lot that goes on behind the scenes of music making that ends up costing a lot of money. If you can take that on yourself, you can pocket the cash. For example, learning basic graphic design skills can go a long way. I once did all the art for an old band CD. After reading a couple tutorials, I was able to come up with a passable product. These same skills can be used to create posters, promo material, t-shirts, websites, the list goes on. Being somewhat knowledgeable in video and editing will save you the cost of hiring a videographer. Learning the basics of recording is obviously an asset as well. The more of these things you keep in-house, the more money you'll save. And even if you do end up working with a professional, being able to speak their language will only get you closer to your vision. That's all for today. I hope you enjoyed this video and found something valuable here. If you really enjoyed this content and are feeling especially flush with all that money you've saved, please consider heading over to my Patreon program where I offer a number of rewards for everyone involved. One of those rewards is a song critique if you'd like to hear what I think about your music. I also offer a monthly giveaway for everyone involved. This month's prize is the Big Spender Spinning Speaker Guitar Pedal. For more information about that, hit that link over there, and for everyone already involved, thank you guys so much. You make these videos possible. Until next time, thank you all for watching. I'm Samurai Guitarist, and I will see you again soon.